In the previous episode, our boy discovered that his waifu was in grave danger. Without hesitation, he dashed toward her location, determined to save her. But once Snowy is safe, he's certain of one thing: Dong Shengyi is going to learn a hard lesson. As we continue the story, Lu Sheng barely has time to catch his breath before the first beast bursts out of the ground. Its massive jaws snapped open as if trying to swallow him whole. But Lu Sheng wasn't about to waste time here. With a single, effortless strike, he sliced the beast clean in half. The wind whipped past his ears as he casually continued forward, leaving only the remains of the once powerful level 8 beast in front of everyone. Behind him, the General Stars just stared, wide-eyed and speechless. One hit? That beast was supposed to be a nightmare to fight. And this guy took it out like he was swatting a fly. Just who was this man? They couldn't believe it. He was actually going into a double S-level cavern during a level 10 uprising, something that even the bravest fighters would flee from. Was he out of his mind? There was no way anyone could survive that, no matter how strong they were. Right? Meanwhile, Dong Shengyi stood off to the side, his gaze fixed on Lu Sheng as he watched him fearlessly charge into the cavern without a second thought. In his life, Dong Shengyi had seen plenty of people march to their deaths, but never had he seen someone do it with such calm, such absolute certainty. There wasn't even a flicker of hesitation or fear in Lu Sheng's eyes. Is this the kind of man my sister is in love with? He thought to himself. In no time, Lu Sheng reached the 5th layer of the cavern. Honestly, he could have gotten there even faster if it weren't for all the annoying beasts blocking his path. Not that it mattered, since none of them survived more than a single blow. The good news? He'd managed to check Snowy's personal info in the dream realm before arriving here, and it confirmed she wasn't dead. So, even though she was trapped deep in the cavern, she was still alive. But that didn't mean he could drag this out. Things could change, and fast. He had to find her. Hang on, Snowy. I'm coming for you, he thought. Meanwhile, on the other side of the cavern, Snowy found herself stuck in a less-than-ideal spot, right in the middle of a giant beast's esophagus, or maybe intestine, I'm not really sure. The narrow, dark space reeked, and sharp spikes lined the walls of the creature's inside. She coughed a little, the air thick with the stench of decay. Thankfully, the pendant Lu Sheng had given her glowed softly, forming a protective barrier around her, keeping her safe, for now, at least. Feeling a wave of discomfort wash over her, Snowy slowly looked around. Wait, am I still alive? She could feel the energy from the pendant around her neck, and quickly realized it had saved her. Her last memory was of being swallowed by some terrifying beast. Now, standing slowly, she figured she must be inside its stomach. Gross. The place was disgusting. But she wasn't about to just sit there. She decided to have a look around, even though everything reeked. Just as she started moving, something slimy brushed against her leg. She turned and, oh great, tentacles. One of them wrapped around her leg in a flash. What happened next? Well, let's just say this isn't that kind of story. But it was getting a little weird, even for her. Snowy couldn't move, but she still had the pendant in her hand. Just as the tentacle's tip split open, revealing a gnarly little mouth lined with sharp teeth, and yes, it was as creepy as it sounds. The pendant pulsed with light. A burst of energy shot out, and in the blink of an eye, the tentacles exploded and shattered to pieces. She stared in surprise, figuring that the pendant could sense danger. But there was a catch. The psychic energy Lu Sheng had sealed inside the pendant was draining fast, and she had no idea how much longer it would last. She looked down at her clothes and sighed. Seriously? Is this what they call fan service? The acidic goo from the tentacles had started dissolving her outfit, and everywhere here was coated with the stuff. Yeah, she better get out of here, or we might not be able to show this on YouTube anymore. The air inside the beast was thick and foul, and even though she was a 6th-level martial artist, she wasn't sure how long she could hold out. She gathered the remaining scraps of her psychic energy and slammed her fists into the wall. There was a tiny crack, but that was it. Gritting her teeth, she ignored the strain it was putting on her mind and kept attacking. But no matter how hard she hit, the wall remained as solid as ever. How did it come to this? Snowy thought, slumping to the ground. The walls of this level 8 beast's inside were just too tough. She sat there, exhausted, her mind drifting into a deep sense of, well, hopelessness. Guess this is really the end, she thought. Oddly enough, she wasn't scared, just a little regretful. That's when her phone slipped out of her pocket, lighting up the dim space with a faint glow. Of course, there was no signal down here, but she couldn't help herself. She opened the contacts and found Lu Sheng's name. She stared at his picture, tapping his name a few times, knowing full well it wouldn't connect. Her expression stayed calm, though. She hadn't expected a miracle. As a tear slipped from the corner of her eye, her body felt the full toll of her psychic energy being drained. The once protective barrier from the pendant flickered out, and the heavy, foul air filled her lungs. Breathing became harder, and her eyelids began to flutter shut. Her phone slipped from her hand, hitting the ground with a soft thud. With a quiet sigh, her lips formed one final whisper, Lu Sheng. And then, as if the beast had been waiting for this moment, the tentacles slithered back, wrapping around her once more, slowly covering her. Snowy lay still, her consciousness fading. She let out a little sigh in her heart. Maybe in the next life, I won't run away from him. Back in the cavern, the beasts he encountered were getting stronger by the minute. But he was fueled by rage, and he blasted through everything. He could sense the pendant he had given Snowy because it held a trace of his psychic energy, allowing him to track her location. However, there was a problem. The signal was faint, almost non-existent. He wondered if he was too far away. Lu Sheng frowned. If that's the case, he'd have to flip this entire place upside down. More beasts appeared before him, any one of them powerful enough to wreak havoc outside. Lu Sheng took a deep breath, the air around him crackling as fire and ice grandmaster aura swirled in the sky. He activated his perfect martial path, and within seconds, the beasts found their feet frozen to the ground. Before they could even react, his aura flared even stronger as he charged, activating his path of slaughter. In that moment, it became even more one-sided. His spear swung with terrifying speed and power, shredding hundreds of beasts into pieces with every strike. Their bodies flew through the air like rag dolls, but there were just too many. Damn it! This is wasting too much time. I have to get to her now. Without a second thought, he leaped high into the air and unleashed all of his power. He unleashed everything he got into his spear as he hurled it downward. At the same time, it was like the sky itself was collapsing. The attack pierced through the beasts, shattering the cavern layers one by one. He didn't waste a second as he quickly dove down. He plummeted toward the lower levels, smashing through layer after layer. 15th floor, 20th floor, 40th floor. In no time he arrived. Suddenly, his psychic senses caught a faint pulse. Finally, I found you! Barely holding back his excitement, Lu Sheng clenched his fist and punched through the wall ahead. As the dust settled, his gaze locked onto an enormous beast. The creature noticed him too, its massive mouth gaping open as it prepared to attack. He could feel Snowy's aura weakening fast. You son of a... His fury exploded as the beast spewed out a powerful energy blast. Lu Sheng didn't flinch. His eyes burned with pure anger. So, you're the one who hurt her. He gathered all his strength into his fist, and without dodging charged headfirst into the blast. He didn't hesitate. He punched straight into the energy blast, and to the beast's shock, he shattered it like it was nothing. The creature blinked in surprise, but it didn't have much time to react. In the next second, Lu Sheng leaped into the air, landing on its massive head. With raw strength, he tore the beast apart, splitting it in two. Inside the creature, Snowy was still curled up, barely conscious. As the beast let out a dying roar, its body ripped open, and a beam of light penetrated down. Snowy's eyes fluttered open, and for a moment she thought her time was up. Then, suddenly, the tentacles that had bound her exploded into pieces. She heard a voice calling her name. It was so familiar. However, as the beast's body collapsed, she gently tumbled down. But before she could hit the ground, a pair of strong arms caught her. It was Lu Sheng, smiling down at her. Snowy, I'm here. For a moment, Snowy froze, her mind racing. He gave her a soft, reassuring look. Yeah, let's go home.